Hello and welcome to True North EV. I'm your host James, coming to you from Manitoba, where we're passionate about all things electric here in the Great White North. You know, this has been an absolutely wild couple weeks for me. I've been running around doing interviews with TV stations, radio shows, and newspapers. Still got some coming up this week, all talking about one thing: Canada's brand new Electric Vehicle Affordability Program. And I've got to tell you, I'm excited to finally sit down, take a breath, and really dig deep into this with all of you. Today, we're going to break down what this new program means for Canadian drivers, talk about massive infrastructure investments that's coming alongside it, address the elephant in the room about Chinese EVs, and I'll share my thoughts on what Manitoba should do with its provincial rebate program. And don't mind my voice, I am hopefully getting over some illnesses going around the house, or we're in the peak of it. So hopefully it gets better, but this is unfortunately what you have to deal with today. So let's plug in and get started. Alright, so let's start with the big news. On February 5th, 2026, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced the complete overhaul of Canada's EV strategy. At the heart of it is the Electric Vehicle Affordability Program, or EVAP for short. This program officially launches on February 16th, 2026. So today, as I record this, it should be out, or I guess as I'm sending it out, I'm actually recording it on Saturday. And here's what you need to know. So the incentives, up to $1,000 for battery electric vehicles and fuel cell electric vehicles. Not a whole lot of fuel cell electric vehicles. Might be some available in Vancouver. I don't know if the Hyundai or Toyota one is still around, or maybe we'll see what's coming up. And up to $2,500 for plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is different from the old program. Instead of a strict MSRP cap, EVAP focuses on the final transaction price. That price has to be $50,000 or less for non-Canadian-made EVs. But here's the kicker. If the EV is made in Canada, there's no price cap at all. That's a huge deal-ish for vehicles like the Dodge Charger Daytona EV, which is built right here at home. I don't know. I'm not the type that cares much for the Dodge Charger. I don't like the fake noises on the Dodge Charger, but that's just me. So, this is how the price calculation works. Transport Canada has been really clear about what counts towards the $50,000 limit and what doesn't. Here's what's excluded. So the freight charges, pre-delivery inspection fees, the taxes, winter tires, extended warranties, and government rebates. So if you're one of the provinces that gets money taken off, like here in Manitoba, you get an extra $4,000 off the vehicle. That all is not included, or that's what's excluded. And here's what's included. So the base vehicle price, trim upgrades, factory options, accessories, and dealership fees. This is actually really important because it means a vehicle with a sticker price around $50,000 could still qualify even after you add in freight and PDI. This gives automakers some flexibility, and I think we're going to see some creative pricing to get vehicles under that threshold. So the program is open to both Canadian consumers and businesses, and it's a point of sale incentive, which means the rebate is applied right at the dealership when you buy or lease the vehicle. No waiting for paperwork to process or rebates to come through months later, which is great if you're financing your vehicle. It's that $5,000 right off what you need to borrow from the bank. So only EVs manufactured in Canada or in countries with which Canada has existing or future free trade agreements are eligible. This is where things get politically interesting, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. Right now, the list I've seen, Transport Canada, they've confirmed 35 vehicles that meet the criteria right now. We've got everything from the Chevy Equinox EV, and I did see on the list a Chevy Equinox EV all-wheel drive on there. So the Hyundai Kona Electric, the Fiat 500e, Ford Mustang Mach-E, I don't believe there was an all-wheel drive version available, so that was the Mach-E Select and several plug-in hybrids like the Chrysler Pacifica and Ford Escape. Interestingly, the Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive isn't on the official list yet, even though it starts at $49,990, just $10 under the threshold. But Transport Canada has emphasized that the list is a guide, not a strict limitation. What really matters is that final transaction value. So hopefully they expand that list. Hopefully they keep adding more into it, because it's just going to be, it will be interesting to see how that kind of grows and what everybody does with it. I think this is a really smart program. $50,000 threshold is realistic for today's market. We're not in the early days of EVs anymore where everything was a luxury product. There are real, practical, affordable EVs available now, and this program recognizes that. And here's what I'm really excited about. I think we're going to see manufacturers get creative. They might adjust packages, offer different trims, or move features around just to qualify for this program. That kind of competition, that's great for us consumers. Now, you can have all the EV incentives in the world, but if people are worried about where they're going to charge, they're not going to make the switch. The government knows this, and that's why they're investing big in charging infrastructure. Minister of Energy and Natural Resources Tim Hodgson announced that through the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program, those that are around this regularly, it's called the EVAP Program. EVAP, I guess not EVAP Program, because, yeah. So EVAP Canada is investing more than $84 million in 122 projects across the country. This is going to result in more than 8,000 new charging ports for electric vehicles from coast to coast to coast. So that means going up east, west, and north. So hopefully Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, hopefully they're all getting chargers. One of the two biggest barriers to EV adoption, this has been confirmed by multiple surveys, is the perceived lack of charging stations. People have range anxiety. They worry about road trips. They worry about living in rural areas. This investment directly addresses that concern. And let me tell you, as someone who drives an EV in Manitoba, I can confirm that charging infrastructure makes all the difference. When I first got my EV, I was a little nervous about longer trips. There was a lot more planning. There was a lot more route A, B, and C. But as more chargers have gone up, that anxiety has completely disappeared. These 8,000 new ports aren't just going to be in major cities. The emphasis is on coast to coast to coast coverage, which means rural communities, highways, and underserved areas are going to see real improvements. For those of us in the EV community, this is huge. This means fewer gaps in coverage, more charging options, and ultimately more freedom to go where we want to go. You can't have one without the other. EV incentives without infrastructure would be like giving everyone boats but not building any marinas. These two announcements together, the EVAP rebates and the charging infrastructure investment, show a comprehensive approach to EV adoption. That's what we need. Okay. Let's talk about the controversy. I've heard from people both celebrating and complaining about the fact that Chinese EVs are left out of this program. Let me give you my perspective on this. So with the free trade agreement requirement, the EVAP program only covers EVs manufactured in Canada or in countries with which Canada has existing or future free trade agreements with. China doesn't fall into that category, so Chinese EVs like BYD or others are excluded. But here's the thing, there is already a separate deal in place regarding Chinese EVs. Canada agreed to allow Chinese electric vehicles into the country, but with a specific requirement. 50% of those have to be priced under $35,000. Think about that for a second. If half of the Chinese EVs coming in are already required to be under $1,000, those are already going to be very affordable options for Canadians. They don't necessarily need a rebate. on top of that to be competitive. You're dealing with vehicles that are $50,000. Even a $5,000 rebate brings it down to $45,000. That's $10,000 more than these vehicles have to be at the max. These have to be at $35,000 or less. So we got some different perspectives. Some people are upset about this exclusion. They see it as limiting consumer choices or giving preferential treatment to certain manufacturers. Others are cheering it. They see it protecting Canadian jobs, supporting our trading partners, and ensuring that taxpayer dollars are going to companies that have reciprocal relationships with Canada. I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing. Look, I'm all about consumer choice and affordable options, but the reality is that we already have a mechanism bringing affordable Chinese EVs to Canada through the 50% under $35,000 requirement. The EVAP program is designed to stimulate our automotive industry, support our trade partners, and create jobs here at home. I think this makes sense to direct those incentive dollars toward vehicles that are part of our broader economic ecosystem. Plus, let's be honest, if Chinese manufacturers can deliver quality EVs under $35,000 go to rebate, they're still going to be competitive in the market, and competition is what drives innovation and better prices for all of us. Plus, I know there's a lot of rumors and talks about some of these manufacturers bringing their production lines right here to Canada. So I don't know how that will work if a Chinese manufacturer then becomes also a Canadian manufacturer, if they then qualify. But this program also does keep every year, it's a 5-year program, every year on new full electric vehicles. Every year the rebate goes down by $1,000. On the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, every year the rebate goes down by $500. So now let me talk about something close to home. Manitoba currently has its own EV rebate program, but it's set to end in March. As a Manitoban and an EV advocate, I've been thinking a lot about what should come next. Right now, Manitoba offers rebates for new and used EVs, but there's a 5-year age limit on used vehicles. That means if you want to get a used EV that's 6 or 7 years old, you're out of luck for the provincial rebate. I'm really hoping Manitoba continues with the rebate program after the March cutoff. But here's my suggestion. Pivot it to focus exclusively on used EVs. Get rid of that 5-year age limit. With the federal EVAP program now covering new vehicles up to $50,000, there's already a strong incentive in place for people buying new. Where there's still a gap is in the used market. Used EVs are an incredible value right now. Battery technology has proven to be far more durable than early critics predicted. A 7-year-old Nissan Leaf or 6-year-old Chevy Bolt can still have plenty of life left in it and can be purchased for a fraction of the original price. If you guys have been with me for a while, you know I guess it's now 12-year-old Nissan Leaf that has almost 200,000 kilometers on it and has still like 70% of its battery left. And it's a fantastic city car. I love it. There's going to be a story coming up about it. I did get into an accident. It's getting all fixed up. I'm still able to drive it. It's quite fascinating, actually, how they do it all now. But yeah, we'll talk about that another time. But I wanted to get this story out there. Let's focus here. And focusing on provincial rebates with used EVs would help people with a tighter budget who can't afford a new vehicle. It's also going to help those first-time EV buyers who want to test the waters, maybe not jump in full like me and my family did. It's also going to help those families looking for a second vehicle, those that just need that city vehicle, and young people buying their first car. They're not buying those $50,000 vehicles when they're still in high school, when they're just got out of high school. So removing that age limit, that 5-year age limit, is arbitrary. EVs from 2017, 2018, and 2019 are still excellent vehicles. By removing that restriction, Manitoba could help get more people into electric vehicles across all income levels. Also, that age limit goes up every year. So when the next manufacturing year, that goes up also. So when I have talked with the provincial government, this is what I've said to them. I've said, you've already done a great job with getting EVs on Manitoba roads. Let the federal government handle new vehicles and let Manitoba lead the way in making used EV accessible to everybody. And they seem to be really receptive to that. I've talked to a few We had a provincial budget town hall. What was that, last week, I guess? And so there was actually quite a few of them in the room, and so I was able to talk to a few of them about that. And a well-designed used EV rebate program could be Manitoba's unique contribution to the national EV transition. And honestly, it might even be more impactful than the current program. All right, so I've been talking about this program non-stop over the last couple of weeks on TV, radio, and in newspapers. Let me tell you where I really stand. I think this is a great program. Can there be improvements? Of course there can. Show me any government program that couldn't be tweaked or improved. But fundamentally, I believe this is a step in the right direction. First, that $50,000 price cap is realistic. It's not set so low that only budget vehicles qualify, but it's not so high that it's just subsidizing luxury purchases. It's targeting the mass market, which is exactly where we need EV adoption to happen. Second, I love that it's creating competitive pressure. Watch what happens over the next few months. You're going to see manufacturers adjusting packages, reconsidering pricing, and maybe even designing new trim levels specifically to hit that $50,000 mark. That's how you drive innovation and value for consumers. Third, the infrastructure investment shows the government understands this can't just be about purchase incentives. People need to feel more confident that they can actually use these vehicles. The new charging ports goes a long way toward building that confidence. This program feels like it was designed with actual EV drivers and real-world needs in mind. The exclusion of freight and PDI from the price calculation, that shows someone was thinking about how car sales actually work. The point of sale application that removes a huge barrier for people who don't want to float a rebate amount while waiting for government processing. I hope manufacturers rise to the occasion. I hope we see innovation in packaging and pricing. I hope dealerships get on board and actually promote these vehicles instead of steering people towards internal combustion engines. And I hope Canadians give EVs a real look now that the affordability equation has improved. We're at a pivotal moment in Canada's automotive history. Climate change is real. Our automotive sector needs to evolve, and Canadian drivers deserve affordable, practical, zero-emission options. This program gets us closer to all three of those goals. Is it perfect? No, but it's real progress, and I'm choosing to be optimistic about where it leads us. All right, everyone. That's what I've got for you today on the Electric Vehicle Affordability Program and what it means for EV drivers across Canada. Before I let you go, I want to give a huge shout out to Bodie and his podcast Kilowatt. Seriously, if you're not already listening, go check it out. Bodie is way more knowledgeable than I am and does an amazing job covering the EV industry. He just did the, GM quarterly report. And yeah, so he does all that stuff. Does a lot of work in there, and you can find Kilowatt wherever you get your podcasts. Trust me, you won't regret it. And if you want to get in touch with me or the show, here's how. You can email me directly at truenorthevpodcast@gmail.com. You could also go check out a Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association at manitobaev.ca. Now, before we go, if you enjoyed this podcast and this episode, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And leave us a review. It really helps your other EV enthusiasts find our show. And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover, send us your suggestions. The show is for us. Thanks for listening to True North EV. I'm James, and I'll talk to you next time.